By most accounts, there is a crisis in teacher recruitment and retention. New applications were down 29% in the last year, and in 2016, nearly 35,000 teachers stopped teaching for reasons that weren't retirement. The latest government brainwave is to recruit more, is to change the structure of tests that aspiring teachers need to pass. They'll now be able to resit the tests as many times as they need to. But I'm worried. I want the bar for our teachers to be set high, and we must not lower standards. Besides, tinkering with tests isn't going to solve the crisis in our schools. We need bold, radical thinking, technical training, more funding, incentives to stay in teaching for the long term. We need to work out exactly what we want our education system to look like, because what we have now simply isn't working.
I think there are many reasons why that's down nearly 30%. I think some of it is that, and I'd be very frightened if I was a teacher, because all it takes is for one female pupil of 14 to suggest that I put her hand on my hand on her knee, I'm sorry, and suddenly my whole career, even though I hadn't, and if a couple of pupils take against me, I am fighting for my professional career.
That's not why people aren't going.
I think some people are concerned. I think some people are concerned. No, that's why they might be leaving. I genuinely think that could be a reason. But you talk about more funding. I'm always intrigued by more funding. It needs more money. It needs more money. And I always say, if you gave Ford more money, would they make better cars? Not necessarily. Just by giving it more money, where does the money go? What are you going to spend it on?
Well, you know I'm not somebody who bangs the drum for more and more money.
You did say it.
Yeah, but the reason I do in this particular instance is because I feel embarrassed, actually, that we've got schools that are asking parents to take in stationery and stuff and essentials that a school needs because they can't afford it. That embarrasses me. I think it's absolutely wrong. So for me, if you truly cannot afford your own stationery and stuff like this, you've got a problem going on, and we need to look at that. And if we need more funding, you've got to give it. But for me, there is something that's broken in our education system. I really feel that, and I feel it needs more.
And how does that manifest itself? Is it that our pupils aren't doing well? Is it, you know, why are you saying it's broken?
I don't like the whole system.
No, I'm just trying to...
I don't like the whole system. I don't like the whole system of one-size-fits-all standardised testing. We measure someone on their kind of...
You don't think there should be as many tests, Michelle, or...?
It's not about as many tests. I think, for example, I work with a technical college group, and I love what they do. They think very differently. They get employers involved in their curriculum. Employers come in and teach. These kids go out into workplaces, UTCs they're called. They're absolutely brilliant, but they're different to how schools are set up and structured.
So the standard homogenised schools you don't think work? Is that effective?
Yeah, I think we just need to think differently and creatively about how we're educating our kids.
Isn't that what's happened in recent years? I mean, we've got different sorts of... Well, because they've changed the education system. And we've got different sorts of schools. We've got academies as opposed to comprehensive in a lot of places. I mean, your argument about the tests, I think, was pretty irrelevant.
It's irrelevant at all.
If you look over the years, if you look at... You're entitled to a view. If you look over the years, the standards of people going into teaching has gone up and up and up. I mean, when I'm 30...
In terms of what?
Well, 30 years ago, you didn't have to have a degree. That's gone up. Now you have to go into teacher training. You've got to have a 2-1. You can't just go in with a third, which it was at one stage. They've changed the system. But I don't think that's anything to do with why they're leaving.
How can you say that?
I think they're leaving for all sorts of reasons. One of which is esteem, and two of which is money.
How can you say the standard of teaching is better? How can you say it's better?
I want to do something really quickly. Let me do something really quickly before, because Carol, I really want your view. But before I do that, you've just said that these teaching tests are irrelevant. So,
I'm
in front of you, you've got a pen.
I'm frightened of this. Yeah, when I saw the pen, I thought somebody was actually...
So that's what these pens are for.
Because I think it's important.
Well, that we can do it.
Well, I think it's important to demonstrate the kind of questions that we're asking our teachers to be able to answer in order to qualify as teachers.
Well, you're saying they can resit them again and again?
Yes,
it doesn't matter what we get.
We'll do it later.
Many times as they like.
So I've picked a couple of sample questions from these tests, and I'm going to give you an example. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Answer this.
Presumably your point is that these will be too easy.
Well, we shall see.
Find out.
I'm going to ask you a question. I'm going to give you 15 seconds to answer it, yes?
Cool.
Are you ready? Question number 1. During a school trip to Germany, every pupil was allowed to exchange £100 into euros. The exchange rate was 1.06 to the pound. How many euros did each pupil receive? Time starts now, 15 seconds. To recap,
I don't know.
£100 into euros. Your exchange rate was 1.06 to the pound.
Yes.
How many did they get? Hurry up, you've only got...
I'm there. Well, I'm
there. It's easy.
What?
Well, you tell us.
Right,
It's
show me your answers.
106.
Okay.
Anything.
Right, I won't comment.
106.
The answer is 106.
Right.
Second question,
How do
very
you rub it out?
quickly.
Oh.
Second question, very
Yeah.
quickly.
Yeah.
You know how big you made that.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Right, I'm going to tell you again, same format. Question, 15 seconds.
Oh, my God.
In a group of 110 pupils, 66 pupils have school dinners. What proportion of the year group do not have school dinners? And I want your answer in a decimal.
66.
15 seconds.
No, tell us the numbers
now.
again.
So 110 pupils, 66 have them. What proportion do not have them as a decimal, please? 110 pupils, 66 has the meals.
3.6 over 10.
Yes.
I don't know.
3.6 over 10?
Right, what's your...
I'm nothing.
Right, what's your...
I haven't done it because
Right.
you've got to work out 110
Right.
has got to become 100.
So-
Of every 10, 3.6 would
Yes.
The answer is 0.4, and my point with that very simple point... What
does that mean
Yes.
then?
When I asked you that first question, your answer was, well, this is easy.
Well, the first one was.
So you would therefore expect any teachers that are teaching your kids to be able to answer such easy questions.
Well, it depends how long you get to do the second one. You could, if you could sit and work it out.
Anyway,
in 10,
my point
5,
is,
2 minutes.
I've proved my point, I think, that actually
is?
these tests, we shouldn't be lowering the standards. If you can't answer stuff like
shouldn't be teaching kids.
that first one that you yourself went, well, this is easy.
No, but
The first one was easy. The second one, you just
Can I just say, because I haven't said anything about
Yeah,
this yet,
go on.
the Times Higher Education Survey last year said that the university is admitting a load of students that are almost illiterate. And it's not surprising they're almost illiterate if the people who are teaching them can't pass a literacy or numeracy test. You know, this country languishes at 21 on a world scale for literacy and 27th for
27,
numeracy,
yeah.
which has to tell you that what's happening in our schools is not a good thing. And I find it astonishing that the Education Minister, Nick Gibbs, says the most important thing is not passing tests, it's the teachers want to teach. And even if they're not capable of teaching at the point of entry, we should let them in. How many parents are going to be horrified at the idea that someone who keeps on failing tests is going to be teaching their kids?
The problem we have is lots of teachers are leaving and not enough people are entering the profession. So, you know, beggars can't be choosers.
What do you think that is, though,
were.
June?
Well, I think there's a number of things. It's like what Greg was saying. I think money is a part of it, which is why I think we need to encourage teaching as a second career. There are lots of people who...
They tried it, though, with the army. It didn't really work.
Well, we need to
I mean,
figure out...
it doesn't work others, but...
But we need to figure out a way of doing
well,
it. I think teaching is something that actually you could encourage, because, you know, older people, you
Well,
know...
Teach First is quite interesting. You know, Teach First?
Yeah, of course.
Which is basically very bright kids
Out of
coming out of university go
university,
straight into teaching.
Yeah.
Now, some sink... It's a sink or swim.
Yeah.
You know, you either make it or you don't. They're now doing it in social work as well. But that's quite interesting. Quite a lot of those kids do actually stay in teaching.
But not enough of them, because the problem is those kids then want to go into the corporate sector. So I think it should be people at the end of their careers
but the
who
big-
want to use this as a way of
the
giving
other,
back.
the other problem they've got,
Shouldn't
of
we
course,
pay them better?
is
Yeah.
head teachers. That actually you can't get people to be head teachers.
Oh, for the love of God, you can make 150,
Exactly.
200 grand a
No, I
year.
know.
What are you talking about?
But you
Private
can't.
health, are there any others?
There is a shortage of people who want to take on the responsibility and have the talent to be head teachers.
Yeah, but you know, when a teacher starts off at 22 grand, and that's the first way. You know, I don't have any truck with them going on about workload, because they get 14 weeks of holiday a year no, hang on, let me finish you. They get 14 weeks of holiday a year to go over the workload. However, 22 grand is a pitiful salary when you have the future of our kids in your hands.
But that's my point about why we should encourage it as a second profession, because you're likely to be able to afford to be on 22 grand.
But
if
no,
you've
just give
worked
them more.
before.
Yeah, after 10 years, you only get 34 grand as a salary. Now, some people on the average wage 28 grand think, well, that's a fortune. It's not really when you have the responsibility of our kids' education.
especially when you're in
Pay them
Especially
better.
if you're in places in the big cities where,
Yeah.
where
Yes.
cost of living is so much more.